Alright, hey class. This is going to be the third video. This one's tackling the third homework, the one that's all about cylinders. And there's not a big difference between prisms and cylinders. In fact, there's almost no difference. We said they actually have literally the same formula at the basic level. It's just volume equals the area of the base times the height. So the only difference is, with a cylinder, you know that the base is always a circle. So you won't have to worry about if it's a triangle, a trapezoid, or any of that. It's just going to be a circle every time. And that means our base is going to be pi r squared every time, and then times our height. So for a cylinder, you actually can just memorize this formula, and you don't have to write this one over and over and over again for cylinders, because that b is never going to be anything other than pi r squared. It'll always be pi r squared. So anytime you're doing a cylinder problem, you can start right here. And you can see that for cylinders, all you want to do is plug in your radius and square it, multiply that by your height, you'll be done. So looking at the cylinder they've given us, the radius is this dimension here, the 7, so you plug that in. And the height of a cylinder is this dimension here, the distance between the two circular bases. So that's that 2. Plug in 2. And then do your math. You're going to want to square the radius first every time. So don't multiply by 2 and then square, because 14 squared is not going to give you the right answer. Do the 7 squared first, you get 49. Then multiply the 49 by 2. So 49 times 2 is 98. The other thing is, make sure you always put pi at the end. There were a few people giving me like pi for 98. That's not really acceptable. The pi should be at the end. It should be 98 pi. And these things are centimeters, so our volume is cubic centimeters. So remember, I do pretty much always want you to leave your answer in terms of pi. But if you really wanted to, then you could give me the approximation. So for that, I'll bring the calculators back. Again, if you've got a TI calculator, then I recommend you just hit the pi button. If you're trying to do 98 pi, pi is right here. You can see my cursor moving, I hope. But you got to hit second because it's in blue. So you hit second, then the little up arrow, you get the symbol pi, you hit enter, and there's your value. Now if I did 98 times 3.14, is that going to work for me? You can see that it isn't, because I'm going to want you correct to 2 decimal places, right? So 2 decimal places means you better give me 307.88. So if you type in 3.14, that's not good enough, because you'll give me 307.72 when I'm expecting 307.88. So just as a warning to people that don't use the pi button, remember, you better multiply by 3.14159. Give me a few more terms of pi, and then you'll see that now you're safe. Actually, this was kind of a close call. Not really. We're still rounding up to 307.88, right? So if you don't use enough places of pi, you're going to get an answer that's not what I'm looking for. So make sure you're careful with that. But anyway, back to work. Let me get this out of here. 307.88 is our answer. Shoot. Okay, go away, calculator. And we'll record our answer. If you gave me 307.88, that would be fine, but I'd rather just have 98 pi. Okay, moving on. So the next cylinder problem is this one here. Same old thing. What's our formula? Pi r squared h. Okay, fine. Just plug in your values. Pi is always going to just stay pi. Our radius, we can see, well, it ain't 5. It's 5 divided by 2. So many of y'all are probably going to want to say 2.5, but I'm not. I'm going to just leave it as a fraction, 5 divided by 2. And I'm going to square that. And I'm going to multiply that by our height, which is 11. And you know what? If you want to give me a nice clean answer, this is how you're going to get it. You square 5 over 2, you get 25 over 4. Now if you want to multiply this together, we've seen problems by now where we had fractions. You could turn that into a fraction by putting it over 1. Turn this into a fraction by putting it over 1. And then we can see that our numerator is going to be 25 times 11 times pi. So what's 25 times 11? Well, let's bring back our calculator. And we can see that 25 times 11 is 275. So my numerator is going to be 275 pi. My denominator is going to be 4 times 1 times 1, so 4. And we talked about this too. We said at this point, you can try to divide 275 by 4, but you're going to get a decimal, and I don't want decimals. So we said that when you try to divide the numerator by the denominator and it doesn't come out nicely, we said just quit. Leave your answer exactly like this. 275 pi over 4 is the best possible answer. This is in the form that I would want you to leave it in. That's what I want. Now at the same time, if you gave me other versions of the same answer, you would get credit. Okay? But this is what I'm looking for. Let's move on. Alright, so this is an oblique cylinder, but it doesn't matter if it's oblique. The volume is still the same. It's still pi r squared h. So the only thing that might trip you out is our height the 13 or is our height the 12? And the answer is that the height has to be the distance between these two circles, but that distance has to be measured straight up and down. So it's almost like you have to consider these two planes that contain the circles. You have to stretch these things out. And we can see that the distance between the two planes that hold the circles is the 12, not the 13. 13 is measured on an angle, and heights have to be measured straight up and down. So the 12 is what does that. So okay, whatever. Now that we know that, then we know the 13 doesn't mean anything to us. Neither does the 5. The only dimensions we need are the radius and the height, and that's the 3 and the 12. So we plug those in and then we're done. Radius is 3, we'll square that. We'll plug in the height of 12. So apparently we're looking at pi times 9 times 12. I believe that's 108. And I don't see any units, so I'll just say cubic units. That's 3. Let's do 4. So 4 says, find the volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 20 inches and a height of 4. Alright, well first I'm going to draw myself a cylinder. And to do that, I'll start by drawing an oval. That oval. Alright, I'll draw an oval, I'll duplicate it. And then you just draw another oval that's lower. And then when you connect those corners, you got yourself a good looking cylinder. Easy peasy. Oh my lord. Alright, hold on. That shape, skinny. Got it. Alright, you go to the trash can. Let me try drawing a line again. We would draw a line from here to here. Then we'd draw a line from here to here. And suddenly you got yourself a good looking cylinder. So for those of you that are not good at drawing these things, hopefully this is kind of helpful to see how it's done. But anyway, you don't need to draw anything for this problem, but I do find it helpful. They said we have a diameter of 20. So if you mark the diameter, that's got to go all the way across. And we never really want the diameter. We pretty much always want the radius. So you know that radius is going to be half of this. So it's 10. And then honestly, forget about diameter. What you need is the radius. It says we got a height of 4. Alright. So that tells me this cylinder is way too tall. Yoink. Oops-a-daisy. Maybe I should go like this. This cylinder should actually be pretty darn short. More like a hockey puck. So now that dimension is going to be the 4 inches. Again, none of this matters. Your drawing doesn't have to be perfect. You don't even have to do a drawing. You just have to find the volume. And for that you need your formula. Pi pi r squared h. And in this problem we know the radius to be 10. We know the height to be 4. So we know we're looking at a pi times a 100 times a 4. And so that's going to be 400 times pi, which is 400 pi. And we're inches, so these are cubic inches. And that's it for 4. Let's do number 5. So this guy says, find the height of a cylinder with a volume of 252 pi cubic inches and a radius of 6. Okay, happy to. Let me just grab this one so I don't have to do it all over again. Okay. Move that guy over there. So this thing probably wants to be a little taller. I don't know how big. Let's say that big. But let's label what we know, and then let's figure out what we need to know. So for this problem, they're telling us the volume is 252 pi. They're also telling us that we have a radius of 6. And what they're asking us to do is solve for the height. So we're trying to solve for that missing dimension right there. So let's do what we always do, write our formula, which is pi r squared h. And then let's substitute in. So we know pi is pi, we know the radius is 6. What we don't know is the height, but don't forget that what we do know is the volume. So we can plug in the 252 pi. Don't forget the pi, people often forget it. Right away, I would divide both sides by pi. That would make the pi's cancel out. So I now have 252 without a pi equals this side without a pi. They canceled. So square the 6, you get 36 times the height. And of course, it's basic algebra. If I want to solve for the height and I'm dividing by 36, then I need to multiply. If I'm multiplying by 36, I need to divide both sides by 36. That'll get these 36's to cancel and leave me with plain old h. And so we can see our answer is going to be whatever the 252 divided by 36 is. So we go to our calculator, clear this garbage out, clicking in the wrong place like usual. 252 divided by 36 is 7. I'm getting tired, sorry. So 7 is going to be inches because the volume is cubic inches, but the height will just be in regular old inches. So let's try the next one. This one says, find the radius of a cylinder that has a volume of 100 pi cubic inches and a height of 4. Okay. Let me just sketch out another cylinder. Okay, put this side over here. There's my cylinder. What do I know? I know the volume again. It's 100 pi. And I know the height this time is 4. So this time the thing that we don't know is the radius. So that'll be r. So we write our formula. Then we substitute in the things we do know. So for v we can plug in 100 pi. Pi is pi. Now the radius here is our unknown. The height we know. The height we know to be 4. So okay, time to solve using algebra. I know again, the first thing I'll do is divide everything through by pi. So if I divide by pi, they cancel. If I divide by pi, they cancel. So you're now looking at plain old 100 equals r squared times 4, which is 4r squared, right? So now, to get r alone, you got to divide by 4. And you now have 25 equals r squared. And so finally, to solve for plain old r, you got to take the square root of both sides. And I don't know, some people didn't know how to do square root, so let me show you one more time. So if you've got a TI calculator, then you're gonna find square root where? Clear, clear, clear. Why aren't you clearing? Clear. Oh, because I'm highlighting something. Okay, go down there, hit clear. That'll clear everything. My bad. All right, anyway, your square root button's right here. Right above x squared. Your square root button's here. You hit second square root, then you type in the 25. Square root of 25 is going to be 5. While I'm here, and while I have your attention, when we get to spheres, there's an r cubed. So if you ever had to solve for r cubed, you'd take what's called a cube root. And to do that button's actually buried under math. So hit this button that says math, and you'll see option 4 is a cube root. So if you ever need a cube root, it's buried under math. Remember that. Press math, and then press 4. And you can get that cube root button. And if you needed the cube root of like 343, you hit enter. That comes out to 7. Okay, cube roots are different from square roots. All right, so square roots here. Get rid of this. TI, go down there. On the scientific calculator, I can show you again. There's just a button for it. You just press it. The difference now is you have to enter the 25 first. You go 25, and then you press square root, and it automatically tells you the answer. So again, imagine if I typed in 49, I hit square root, you see a 7. If I typed in 121, you hit square root. You don't have to hit enter. It tells you. There's the 11. Not every scientific calculator is this way. Sometimes you hit square root, then you enter the number. But on the calculators that I have that I've been loaning out, you have to type the number in first. So 225. Then you take the square root, you get 15. Okay? I think that should be pretty crystal clear. And honestly, sometimes the numbers, you should know the square root of 25 is 5. Shouldn't be reaching for a calculator for that anyway. So anyway, it's 5. 5 what? 5 inches. 5 plain old inches, not square inches, not cubic inches. All right, are we done? That's 6. That's it. We're done. All right, I hope all this is helpful. If you've been watching all the videos, then you're doing great. Keep going. See you in class on Monday. See ya.